British physicist Stephen Hawking has predicted that the biggest threat to human extinction is a technological disaster over the next tens of thousands of years. He believed that the Lyali themselves would lead to their own extinction. Night City, incomplete moon. A rat walks on the ground. Suddenly, she notices rocks falling on her. We see a night street where people walk calmly. The weather forecast suggests that in the next 3 days, residents of the capital region of China will again experience discomfort due to a sharp deterioration and face serious air pollution. Therefore, the authorities do not recommend that citizens leave their homes unless absolutely necessary. The dark-haired guy who was walking among the crowd noticed something in front of his face. "What is it?" he asked, looking at the small drop in front of his eyes. "What an abomination," he said when he saw how it throbbed. "Is it also moving?" did he think. He called out to the fat guy and asked him to come up to him. When he came up, he showed him this strange thing. The big man was surprised. Then he expressed a desire to taste it, which surprised the guy. Then they began to reflect. "I think it's part of the smog that was talked about on the radio. What have we been throwing into the atmosphere lately that such bullshit has appeared? Or maybe it's a new biological weapon," the big man suggested. "Maybe it's something from outer space? Or a divine snot?" They continued to assume. But they weren't the only ones who noticed a clot. Other people also began to notice similar black clumps in front of them. The big man noticed this. He also added that he definitely couldn't. "It looks like a large viral organism, but in any case it looks nauseating." All of a sudden, the big guy pulled his hand towards this thing. The brunette tried to stop his friend, but he wasn't listening. The strange thing just started flying around the fat man's finger. "Don't you feel anything at all?" the brunette asked. But the big man dispelled his friend's fears and suggested that perhaps these were holograms. While the brunette was thinking about his words, the big guy felt sick. He was trying to help his friend when suddenly someone shouted at him to run away from there. His friend began to literally tear apart from the inside. Under the frightened gaze of the brunette, strange limbs began to come out of his friend. After some time, the main character woke up unharmed among a mountain of corpses. Torrential rain was pouring down on his face. It's been 3. He was looking for something with the device in his hand. He used it to search for life. The signal was heard 75 meters away from him. Suddenly, the guy abruptly reloaded his weapon. He pointed the gun in front of him and asked, "Who else are you?" A girl with very attractive shapes was sitting in front of him. Her whole appearance attracted attention. "Please help me," she asked. The guy noticed an earring in her ear. He immediately remembered the old man's words. He asked him to save his granddaughter. If it doesn't work out, then the launch will bring at least an earring, because this will be the only reminder of your beloved granddaughter. He did not take her out of sight and decided to make sure that it was her. "Your hand May, right? Please save me, I'll do anything." The girl spoke languidly. Suddenly, the guy noticed that there were no signs of life coming from her. Rustles began to be heard from. Suddenly the guy remembered that his grandfather had said that his granddaughter was the only person close to him. So the girl is lying. He still held out his hand to the girl. Suddenly, her face began to become covered with veins and something broke out from under the ground. The girl hugged the guy tightly. And there was something like a huge tentacle sticking out of her ass. The guy was very surprised by what was happening. "I'm not in control of my body anymore. Grandpa, please forgive me." The girl was screaming. The guy looked in front of him and said, "I don't need the girl alive to fulfill the request. However, are you a parasite? What a pity," he said coldly. Then he abruptly tore the earring out of the girl's ear. Then the guy urged the parasite to show itself completely. But he did not expect that they would abruptly soar into the air on a giant tentacle sticking out of the girl's ass. Then the ground under the manger began to crack. Huge fangs emerged from it. And then a worm-like creature burst out. It was simply amazing in its size and immediately rushed to the guy. He noticed it. Then he tried to shoot. But it didn't give any result, which surprised him a little. He realized that the job wasn't going to be that easy, and something started happening to his gun. It literally began to dissolve in his hand. And then he started to turn into something more. Next, we see how the guy who was grabbed by the parasite girl points a giant pistol barrel towards the creature. The weapon began to glow with a strange energy. The guy shouted, "Die already, you beast." A loud shot rang out, and the creature was literally pierced through. The guy was breathing heavily. The girl's grip began to weaken. And when he looked at her, he noticed that her eyes were moving in different directions. Then the girl stopped holding him at all. And he flew down. Shitty day. The guy cursed, hitting the ground. But his failures did not end there, and his arm began to shrivel. He looked at the monster and did not believe that he could kill it. I really couldn't. The giant monster immediately began to attack him. It almost killed the guy, but he was able to jump aside at the last second. The creature tried to attack him again, but he also dodged. However, he was still hit by one powerful horizontal blow. The guy was slammed into the wall, and he coughed up blood. The wall was crumbling behind him, and he was breathing heavily. When the huge monster loomed over him, he thought that this was the limit of his strength, and he could no longer fight. However, he remembered that he had not yet seen some mysterious silhouette. He decided that he couldn't die yet. He opened his eyes wide. The guy started shouting at the monster that he would not give up without a fight. His hand regained the appearance of a weapon, and the huge worm continued to loom over him. The hero already wanted to attack. Suddenly, the monster just disappeared underground. The guy was very surprised by his actions. He immediately assumed that he would be attacked from underground. But after checking his gadget, he saw that the monster was already 90 meters away from No. His hand came into the hole. And the guy himself assumed that he was hiding somewhere nearby. But he also did not forget that he had used virtually all his weapons and that he should have retreated. He also noticed that a hole had formed in his pocket. Which meant that he would have to look for the earring again. I don't have the means to spot this thing or the strength to chase it. He also compared himself to a moth, for which a net has already been woven. He assumed that there must be other lures nearby, in the likeness of that girl. He was just walking forward. And when he climbed into some ruins, his eyes widened in surprise. Dozens of people begged the guy for help. Looking at them, he was amazed at their number. Are they all just living traps? He thought. Suddenly, small tentacles began to reach out to his feet. When he had already noticed this, his leg was tightly gripped. He tried to lift her up, but the tentacles held the guy tightly. Then they knocked him to the ground. The guy frowned. Then he pulled out a gun. He fired several shots. He managed to shoot off the tentacles that were holding his leg. He smiled. When suddenly, there was also a crackling of the earth under his hand. The hand with the gun was also grabbed. The tentacles made their way further along the arm. At one point, they formed something sharp out of themselves. The guy tensed up a lot looking at it. Suddenly, someone cut off the tentacles. A guy in a cap and with a machete in his hand called out to the main character. "Are you alive there?" He asked under the surprised look of the guy. The guy advised the main character to leave this place. He thanked the blonde man for his help. The brunette recommended the guy not to go any further. He referred to an even greater danger. But he said he had to save someone. The guy tried to stop him, saying that the Bates are no longer people. For me, she is controlled by him, but I believe, while her consciousness has not yet left her, then she's still alive. The blonde man said firmly. The brunette looked after him. Well, everyone rocks their own boat. The guy said. The blonde man wandered through the ruined streets. Dozens of infected people stood in his way. He prepared to attack. Making a sharp jerk, he instantly cut down several people. He cut his way through dozens of Bates. Suddenly, a monster attacked him, which he did not have time to kill. The guy was already scared. Suddenly, a shot rang out. The monster fell dead with a bullet in his head. The guy turned his head and saw him. The main character was standing with a gun in his hand. Are you okay? Let's be even. I don't like being in debt. I'll help you. He said and pointed his gun at the monsters again. Don't you dare shoot. The guy shouted. You can hurt her. The brunette was surprised by his words. When suddenly he noticed a silhouette behind the blonde man. The silhouette turned out to be a young girl. Lei? She was talking. What for? Why did you come again? She spoke with a scared look on her face. The girl's gaze was blank, and she hardly reacted to the guy in any way. He held out his hand to her and said. I've come to take you home. Suddenly the girl started crying and said. Oh, gods, what for? It's too dangerous here. I can't escape. But the guy calmed her down. Stop. Don't you dare say that. Then he wiped the tears from her eyes. Remember, we promised each other we'd always be together. He spoke while the ground was cracking under the girl. Run away. She shouted. It's coming. The girl shouted. Suddenly she rushed at the guy. But he was able to deftly dodge and grab the blade. He quickly cut through the tentacle and picked up the girl in his arms. The guy assured her that he would take her away from here very soon. But the girl said that he couldn't. She said she had very little time left. The guy said he didn't want to hear anything like that because without her, he had nowhere to go. And then they were surrounded by a crowd of infected people. But the couple's gaze went to the source of a very loud sound. It was a machine that pushed aside all the monsters. And the main character was driving. "Did you order a taxi?" he asked. Then he took everyone to some ruined village, but it was safe there. The blonde man carried the girl to a wall. "How are you doing?" he asked. "Well, this place is much better than a grave or a damp earth," the girl replied with a slight smile. The blonde man looked at his new friend and asked to take them to the doctor, but the girl said that this was not necessary. The girl tried to say that she was dying, but the guy abruptly interrupted her. "I don't want to lose you again," he shouted. It was pouring rain. The girl said goodbye to the guy and thanked him for everything. "I believe you can take care of yourself," she said, holding her hand on his cheek. She also said that she regretted a little that she sacrificed herself to save the child. But the guy interrupted her. "Enough. Don't say that. You did everything you could." But the guy also started blaming himself. All these conversations have awakened unwanted memories in the main character. A guy in a hood, standing in front of the window, with a bloody knife in his hands, speaks. "Unfortunately, you're late. If you had come earlier." The guy feels like he's jumping out the window. Suddenly, a couple of young people appear before his eyes again. The girl gives the guy some parting words for the future. And then, she dies with a smile on her face. The guy was shouting loudly into the sky. Then he got up and started walking away. "So what? Are you going to go and kill yourself?" the main character asked. "We promised each other that we would be together forever," the blonde man said. But the brunette immediately rebuked him for such thoughts. "Go to hell," the guy said angrily. "Listen to me. I have a plan," the guy said firmly. The blonde man was driving a car full of gas cylinders. Next, he recalled a conversation with the main character. They were discussing the appearance of the parasite. They also discussed the structure of his networks by luring new victims with the help of old ones. And during the conversation, they were able to come up with a plan. The car was speeding through an empty city. When suddenly another car caught up with her. The blonde man was sitting in it. The first stage of their plan was to lure the monster to the surface. The brunette should have done it. Then it was up to the blonde man. The brunette made a sign with his hand. Then he abruptly turned aside. There were many holes in the ground in front of him. A monster burst out of one of them. The guy started swerving along the road. "Well, hello," the guy said with a smile on his face. At that moment, the monster's giant mouth was already hovering over his car. "We follow strictly according to the plan. When this parasite bites at me, I will try to take it as far as possible with me. The second step. Take him away from the center of the web. You have to open the valves of all the gas cylinders and put them in this hole. You have about 3 minutes for everything. That means I only have a minute and a half left. After you've done everything, you need to pick me up, then we'll get as far away from his fishing grounds as possible. Are you still working? All right. Keep up the good work. Devour me. Great. The rest is up to me. Damn, why is it taking so long?" The next moment, the worm was hunting for the car. "I'll try to last as long as possible. If you don't die and come back alive, then let's drink." The third step of our plan. Lead. Near the nest, leading to the center of the hunting ground. An important detail of our plan must be here somewhere. The man comes up and speaks. "There you are. Lamborghini Veneno. That's how the fuel tank should be. Here. A waste of time." The man pushed the car. Another lead. The last step of the plan, we light the lead and get out of the explosion zone. "I'd like to get out of here now. Everything is going well," the man in the cap was thinking. "Lile," a man was shouted at. "Thick-headed. Damn. What are you waiting for? Let's just do it." "Never in my life. Leave me alone. You can't help me." However, who would have thought how it would end? We are already at the culmination of our plan. Do you want our efforts to be wasted? But you are. Just do it. We can come up with another plan. Maybe we could, but everything is already a foregone conclusion for me. Xiao Yang, we will meet again soon. The worm hit Li Lei. The man was shielding himself from the dust with his hand. Li Lei. It's not like that. Soft tissues. Taking out a pistol, the man pointed it at easily accessible places of the monster. What an abomination. However, the worm began to defend itself. Which one? He covered it up with himself. TC. Firearms are useless here. curled up like a hedgehog to protect his soft tissues. Perhaps they are his weak point. Now, the whole plan doesn't seem so risky. Okay, but first we need to find Lilei. He must be somewhere nearby. Mister, do you want to kill her? Turning at the sound behind him, the man asked. What? Maybe I can help you in some way. Your hand, my May. You want to kill her, don't you? The girl asked again. Do you understand what the consequences will be for you after his death? Yes, I understand. However, I can't exist like this anymore. Too many people have died here. This parasite. Your grandmother? The girl replied positively. She is the most valuable person in the whole world to me. The girl continued. And when I was seriously ill in the past, Grandma never paid attention to it and was always there for me in difficult times. It is thanks to this perseverance that we have become who we are now. And all I want is for my grandmother to eat well and continue to live. But she lives for other people's lives. The girl answered with tears in her eyes. Please stop my grandmother. Are you sure about this? Are you sure about your decision? The man asked. I'm done. I've decided everything. The girl answered. Please help me kill my grandmother. I beg you. It looks like your grandmother is still taking care of you. People were standing nearby and shouting. Help me. Save me. I'm hungry. Give me some food. I have to kill an old parasite who only wants to protect her only granddaughter. Dead people were screaming. I want food. 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 At that moment, they were cut in half. Lilei, so you're still alive. Get out of here quickly, the plan has failed. Next time we'll do it again with just a new plan. With a new one? Lilei thought about it. I'm already afraid. There is no next time for me. We have to kill him today. Lilei had a hole in his stomach. That's why I'm here. Food. I'm hungry. Meat. One by one, Lilei killed the zombies who were screaming for food. Thick-headed. I could have done it myself. Lilei and Han Mai Mei, then let me inform you about the last step of our plan. The man fell to the ground and shot back at all the zombies. The girl was thinking at that moment. How could this happen? It's all because of me. How naive I am. It's a pathetic thought that all this can be changed just like that. It's all me. It's all because of me, I killed them. Damn, where did this crowd come from? I can't give up half the way. Come on. The next moment, a shot occurred, scattering all the people around the man. A man was lying on the ground, and people were falling from the sky from a recent explosion. Quite a bit. There's not much left. Right in front of me. Heck. My body can't move. Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang. What? Have you given up already? Ha, who are you talking about? I'm as alive as I've ever been in my life. I am now. Do you want to experience this unforgettable feeling for yourself? How will you feel if one of the people close to you dies in front of your eyes? And in the end, your own life is much more expensive, right? Then you should protect your granddaughter properly. Ha, what are you willing to do to stop me and protect her? The so-called family pressure. That's exactly how it should be. Everyone around was ready to fight. Then something began to crawl out of the girl's body. It grabbed him and started lifting him up. But the next moment, this tentacle was cut off. I'll leave the rest to you. Yeah. The guy answered. The next moment, a huge worm was flying after the guy to eat him. This is the last chance. It's time to retire. Mai Mei? Mai Mei? Mai Mei? Please wake up. Is everything alright? Don't talk, just lie down and rest. Grandmother. Did I really faint again? Grandma, don't worry, I'm much better now. Don't we have to go to the hospital? Just get some sleep. After all, I know for sure that I'm all ready. Certainly. Don't be silly, you fool, there must be a way, you're still so young. A way to cure you. There will be a way. Grandma? After all, I will do everything possible for you to live. I just want to protect you. Xiao Yang. I'm coming to you. The bullet hit the fuel tank and it exploded. The explosion was so powerful that it covered as much as half of the monster's body. Finally, this nightmare is over. The girl fell to the ground and lost consciousness among the crowd of people lying on the ground. The explosion had formed a huge crater in the ground, and smoke was still rising from its center. The guy approached the girl. He took something from his pocket and put it on the ground. Even if the end has come for you, you will meet it with your granddaughter. The next moment, the guy turned around and started walking away. Oh, yes, I forgot that I had a hole in my pocket. Looks like you came back alive after all. Have a seat. The guy came to the table and sat down opposite the man. Nice sofa. What do you mean by that? The next moment, the guy took out a clover brooch and put it on the girl's photo. "Excuse me. You did it anyway. How unexpected." "You're welcome." The man poured the drink into a glass. "Ah. Don't worry so much, drink it and you won't regret it. It tastes great. This wine is quite a few years old." The guy took the glass from the table and stood up. The thought of how it was possible to drink alcohol carelessly before. It was also possible to live another day on just one drink. But now we have to fight. I envy these fish, they have a place where they can live the rest of their days. But this is just an illusion. What are you talking about? And how these worms were no less lucky. The law of the jungle, even human society has its own immutable truths. Not to mention the food. All this is just a small push into the tiger's mouth. Ha, to survive, right? That's right, all the ways are good for this. So why didn't you understand such a simple truth, Lile? He became monster food for no reason, sacrificing himself for some stupid revenge. Is it really only the live bait that is to blame for everything? Have you ever encountered live bait? Oh yes, about that. I kept wondering how she could have reached such colossal proportions. There is also something else quite interesting. Your granddaughter could actually control this parasite. Or you can say grandmother. And then. We got her. Just like this glass. The guy threw the glass on the floor, which broke it. Blown up and trampled like a rat. The man pointed a gun at the guy. Did you really kill them? A family portrait? It looks like a happy family. How many people died because of this? No. The man denied it. Do you have a conscience at night? No. No. The man continued to deny the guy's words. Aren't they suffering? The man put the gun on the table and whooped. I'm really sorry. I've got you, you've won. As promised. The man threw an envelope with a letter to the guy. The truth that you so want to know is inside. The guy examined the letter. That sign again. Nevertheless, a young man. I'll tell you one last thing. That place is not the little fish that I have. It's not so easy to survive in that place. Thanks for the warning. The guy opened the door and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Can you give me a bullet before you leave? The guy left, closing the door behind him. The man looked towards the closed doors and noticed a bullet lying on the locker. My name is Lynn and I'm 21. I used to be a mechanical and electrical engineer. He specialized in 4 specialties. But all this is in the past because a few months ago there was an indescribable catastrophe for all living things. Countless people have died, or because of the so-called virus, strange and at the same time creepy creatures have appeared. The wheel of history destroyed the old civilization and order, as well as took away indescribable human lives, weak, wrapped in an instant and constant vortex, does not spare himself or us. Just like my family, which was taken from my hands. I do not know how deep the conspiracy is behind this, but in order to save the family, I will not consider what it will cost me. I will kill my enemy and send him straight to the edge of the world. I'm Lynn and my story has just begun. Lynn was riding a motorcycle towards the city. There was a large trail of dust behind him. Suddenly, his motorcycle stalled. Damn, there's a problem again. I wonder if I can stay here for the night? The business is good, but all the goods have already been sold out. Then Lynn noticed something. He found a jar of preserves. And some more supplies. When he left the money at the cash register. Thank you for visiting, come again. I'm clearly not going anywhere else. In a nearby building, Lynn was fixing his motorcycle by candlelight. It's almost ready. It's pretty tasty. Lynn began to feel sleepy, he fell on the sofa. I'm so tired. Day 112. On the way to the goal, the motorcycle engine began to malfunction. Fortunately, there was a good motorcycle dealership nearby. Sleeping outside is quite dangerous. Ha, how I smell. The next moment, he noticed a jeep parked nearby. By pulling the wires from the battery, he was able to take a shower. The last time I took a shower, when was it? And the next time when what will happen? What are you doing, you fool? You can't eat that much. He remembered his family looking at the table with instant noodles. Lynn ate and lay down on the bed. The next moment, he heard a strange sound and jumped out of bed, taking the gun. The next morning, Lynn was already riding his motorcycle further towards his goal. He stopped and saw a huge dark dome. A dark field. In just 3 months, it has expanded to such a size. He changed into new clothes. Even such expensive clothes can still be found. Lynn looked at the card on which it was written. Faculty of Information Functions. Biological Industry. So it's here. Looking into the strange device in his hand, Lynn said. It looks very safe. Inside, he found an office and a laboratory room. Entering the laboratory, he examined the test tubes. On the floor he found a book, flipping through which he found the data. The special forces under the flag of the corporation got a big breakthrough. Has the genetic project become a cry for a revolution in the world? Is the history of mankind about to be rewritten? We have an interview with a senior official of Group C reporter. Mr. Lee, may I ask the Prism Group? Mr. Lee. I'm sorry, but this is classified information at the moment. The reporter. Sorry. Mr. Lee. I like sweet beans from the south. The reporter. Please tell me, what are you carrying? I must find my brother at any cost. I will definitely protect him. PRISM is a government program. A set of measures carried out for the purpose of mass secret collection of information. No anomalies were found, and there are no clues on the first and second floors. It remains to check only the third floor. So, only this room remains. When Lynn went inside, he was surprised. An office? It is hard to believe that there is at least some clue in these useless books. I'm confused, not a single clue. Maybe I missed something? There are only 8 rooms on this floor, but the feeling that something is wrong with this room does not leave me. And according to the building plan, all rooms on both sides of the corridor are arranged symmetrically. As for the size of the room, they are the same. But somehow it seems to me that this room is much smaller than the others. Is it really because of the bookcase?